So recently, the creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama, was interviewed about Saiyans. He gave us a bunch of answers that we've been looking for forever, such as how Goten and Trunks became Super Saiyans so easily, how to become a Super Saiyan, the original Super Saiyan God, and different things about Saiyan history and biology. Although some of the answers might raise even more questions, but anyways, to begin, at first he explained if all Saiyans become warriors, and basically how babies are classified into different groups. So when Saiyan babies are born, their battle power would also be measured. If they surpass a certain number, they would classify as an upper level warrior and become combatant candidates instantly. Although if your battle power is too low, you are either classified as an engineer or an infiltration baby. And if the baby can survive and conquer the planet that they're on, they can return to planet Vegeta and become combatants. But the survival rate for these babies are actually very low. So the chances of another Universe 7 Saiyan existing outside of the ones we already know of is very low. And if you read the manga or seen my video on Dragon Ball Minus, Goku was classified as an infiltration baby, while Raditz and Nappa were upper level warriors. Luckily, Goku was sent to Earth, or probably he wouldn't have survived. Toriyama then went on to explain how Saiyans become Super Saiyans, and why Goku was the first one in 1,000 years. So he said becoming a Super Saiyan is dependent on the amount of S cells in a person's body. He said that all Saiyans have them, but most don't have many. Once the S cells reach to a certain amount, a trigger such as anger will cause a change and that person will go Super Saiyan. He also explained that having a gentle spirit is the best way to increase S cells, that most Saiyans had trouble with becoming pure, and that was the reason why basically next to no one could go Super Saiyan. But he added that having a gentle spirit is not the only requirement, that having a certain amount of battle power was also necessary. I guess this whole bit does explain why Gohan was the first to ascend past the Super Saiyan. He was probably the most pure from Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks back in the Cell Saga, and possibly the strongest from them all. So he likely had the most S cells and was the only one to have the minimum power level requirement to go Super Saiyan 2. He just needed a trigger like anger, which Cell gave him to go to the next level. Toriyama also added that the reason why Goten and Trunks became Super Saiyans so easily was because they both inherited a ton of S cells from Vegeta and Goku, since they were both Super Saiyans at the time. And along with the peaceful environment of Earth, they had righteous hearts, so they had a bunch of S cells, and that made Super Saiyans so easy for them. So in the end, the requirements to become a Super Saiyan is to have the minimum amount of S cells and have the minimum battle power needed. And to increase your S cells, you just have to have a gentle spirit. So I guess having a gentle spirit is also a requirement. And to ascend past their Super Saiyan to go Super Saiyan 2, you need to again increase the amount of S cells and increase your power level to the minimum required to reach the next level. So say if Raditz were pure, and he increased the amount of S cells, he still probably wouldn't become a Super Saiyan because he wouldn't have the power level that was necessary. And you can probably say the same with Nappa. And someone like Vegeta, he couldn't become a Super Saiyan on Namek because the S cell count in his body was too low, despite meeting the power level requirement. And as time moved on, Vegeta was becoming more pure. And with that, he increased his S cells, and all that he needed was a trigger. But this does explain how Gotenks was able to go Super Saiyan 3, since with the combined S cells from Goten and Trunks, and the insane battle power from the fusion, Gotenks met both requirements and went Super Saiyan 3. This logic also applies with the Universe 6 Saiyans. They are a more righteous race compared to the Universe 7 Saiyans, so they should already have huge amounts of S cells. And with the huge power levels from all of Kaba, Caulifla, and Kale, they went Super Saiyan so easily, and that's why they think it's just a tingly sensation in their back. It's actually much more than that, they just had more than the minimum needed. So I know nearly like everybody was mad that the legendary Super Saiyan transformation was succumb to a tingly sensation in the back. But it's not. Luckily Toriyama came in and saved us from that explanation Kaba and Caulifla gave. Now comes a pretty confusing part, the origin of Yamoshi, who is the legendary Super Saiyan. So the interviewer asked, was the legendary Super Saiyan Frieza feared the Super Saiyan God that appeared in Battle of Gods? And Toriyama went on to give us kind of confusing answers. It's very hard to make sense of what's exactly happening here since it raises so many questions, but in summary, Toriyama explained that the legendary Super Saiyan, Yamoshi, and the Super Saiyan God are essentially the same person, and that a very long time ago, before Planet Vegeta, was the Saiyans planet. So I guess the name went from Planet Plant to Saiyans Planet to Planet Vegeta. But there was a man named Yamoshi who did have a righteous heart despite being a Saiyan. He and 5 of his comrades started a rebellion against the Saiyans, but he was cornered by a bunch of warriors and this pushed him to become a Super Saiyan. So no, Yamoshi never became a Super Saiyan God. He was a Super Saiyan, but he was the first. But he fought hard against the warriors, shocking them all with his fighting style, and defeated anyone who tried to attack him. But he was so outnumbered that he wore himself out and was eventually defeated. But that was only the beginning of Yamoshi's legend. Yamoshi's spirit then wandered around in continuous search of 6 righteous Saiyans trying to find a new savior, the Super Saiyan God. So in the end, Goku was the very first Super Saiyan God, and Yamoshi was the very first Super Saiyan. There were never anyone before them. Now, a question you might ask is, now what prompted Beerus to search for the Super Saiyan God, when there has never been one before? How did Beerus even dream or know of it? Well, Toriyama did explain that part. So since Yamoshi's spirit was still around and didn't go to the afterlife, he made his way into Beerus' dreams. And the person Beerus was dreaming about was not Goku. It was Yamoshi's spirit he was seeing. So when that planet blew up and Beerus remembered his dream, Beerus wasn't looking at Goku. In fact, he was looking directly at Yamoshi. Now, there was another person that Yamoshi sympathized with, a Namekian. This Namekian saw Yamoshi and in the end wrote about him and other secrets in the Namekian Book of Legends. And this Book of Legends is how Shenron knew of the Super Saiyan God. Since there were none before, how could Shenron have known about him? The only source Shenron had about the Super Saiyan God, when Beerus asked, was this book. That was the end of the interview. It does raise some questions, like how did Yamoshi even create the Super Saiyan God if he himself never became one? Or how does someone actually become a Super Saiyan God? My own headcanon to that question is that when the ritual is performed, they were actually connecting the person receiving the power to the spirit of Yamoshi. So when they performed the ritual on Goku, it connected Goku with Yamoshi, with the end result of him becoming the very first Super Saiyan God. I mean, that would make sense why a ritual is required to become a Super Saiyan God, to somehow do some magic to connect to a spirit that's just out there. And the only reasoning I could find why 6 righteous Saiyans are required and not more or less is probably because Yamoshi and his comrades were a crew of 6. And that's really the only explanation I can give. Now this does set up a decent arc, trying to find Yamoshi and this Namekian Book of Legends. I would of course be very interested in an arc like that. There's just so many unexplored history that we have yet to see, like Yamoshi and the Book of Legends, Zarama, the Dragon God, Planet Sadala, Jiren's Past, What's His Wish, Universe 11, basically all the universes, and just so much more. Maybe Yamoshi comes into play in the arc where Vegeta visits Planet Sadala. But I really like the fact that Toriyama went ahead and answered a lot of our questions and kind of brought all of these random thoughts and theories together. It really feels like we know so much more about the Saiyans now than we did before. So hats off to Toriyama for bringing everything together. He really has a great mind, even though he probably raised a bunch of more questions. And it's pretty cool that he made a cool story about Yamoshi and his spirit, and the fact that Beerus was actually seeing Yamoshi, the very first Super Saiyan, not Goku in his dream. I don't know, I find that story pretty cool. We just really need some more interviews from Toriyama so we can get so much answers to the world of Dragon Ball. But anyways guys, that's the video for today. The translation to the interview are by Herms98 on Twitter. So if you want to check it out for yourself, links in the description. And I can't believe I made a 10-minute Dragon Ball video. I guess there's a first for everything. There was just too much to explain and talk about. But anyways guys, as always, till next time, I'm TGMTube, and I'm out.